Now is the time set aside for a public hearing regarding the 2018 CDBG and home program budget revisions. Kate, come on here.
Good morning. I have a few proposed modifications for the community development block grant and home programs. In 2014, we're proposing to increase the existing activity economic development countywide revolving loan fund by $35,955.63. This is unanticipated program income that was generated over the past couple of years and will be set aside for a revolving loan fund that CDBG operates, and they issue startup loans to new businesses or expansion loans for businesses for the purpose of job creation for low to moderate income persons. In 2015, we're proposing to create a new activity, acquisition countywide homebuyer Habitat for Humanity, and funded at $60,000. Again, these are unanticipated program income dollars that will be used by Habitat to acquire land in the Newville area to build homes for sale to low-income first-time home buyers. In 2015, create new activity, economic development countywide revolving loan fund, and funded at $51,424.70. Again, unanticipated program income to go into the revolving loan fund operated by CDBG. 2016 CDBG decreased the existing activity, public facility, ADA improvements at Earl and Orange Streets in Shippensburg Borough by $1,820.55, and create a new activity, public facility, crosswalk signalization, King, Richwalter, Apple, and Seneca Streets in Shippensburg Borough, and funded at the same. Those dollars are left over from the Earl and Orange Street project, and the borough has requested they be redirected to a larger crosswalk signalization project that they're working on. Also in 2016, create new activity, economic development countywide revolving loan fund, and funded at $62,619.67. Again, for the revolving loan fund for CDBG, that's a total of $150,000 to go into that fund. In 2016 home and 2017 home, reduce each activity, existing activity, homebuyer, countywide home ownership, each by $250,000, and create new activities in each year. Rental acquisition, Riverton Woods, Cumberland Senior Housing Associates, and fund each activity in each year at $250,000. These funds will be used to acquire property, to construct 42 rental units in the borough of Lemoyne. You may remember that Monarch Development Group had put in for low-income housing tax credits in 2016. It was unsuccessful at the same site on Hall Street in Lemoyne. They partnered with Cumberland Senior Housing Associates to resubmit a 2018 low-income housing tax credit application for 42 units, rental housing for seniors. And so these dollars would be used to support that activity. All of these proposed modifications are on public comment through October 21st, but I accept any questions, comments from the public or the board at this time.
Thank you, Kate. Do the commissioners have any questions?
I'm trying to understand this, Kate. This is the first time I've seen these kind of revisions before. Yeah, are these dollars that were left over in these different years, or could you explain this to me a little bit?
Sure. So some of the activities that the county funds with their CDBG dollars, primarily economic development loans and owner-occupied rehab loans, generate program income. And so when those dollars come back in, we use those to fund additional activities that beyond what was funded in the programming budget.
Okay.
So all of that.
Is it like repayments then, essentially?
Correct. It's mostly loan repayments from a variety of different loans that are issued using CDBG dollars.
Okay.
And so I went through, and there's a significant amount available, so we'll use that to replenish, if you will, CDBG's revolving loan fund.
Okay. All right. Thanks, appreciate it.
The staff have any questions? Does anybody in the audience have any questions? Do the commissioners have any comments? Staff have any comments? Does anyone in the audience have any comments? Okay, hearing none, public hearing is now closed. Thank you, Kim.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the October 18th, 2018 Cumberland County Commissioners Workshop meeting. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I call this meeting to order at 10:05, and at this time, open up the floor to public comment. Okay, hearing none, seeing none, we'll move on to agenda items 3 and 4 with two employees recognitions from children and youth, recognizing each employee for 25 years of service. So at this time, I'd like to call Nicole Chris, Nikki McElwee, and Joe Hutchinson.
This is Nicole Chris. This is Jeff.
Your service. Your service.
Okay, good morning. We're celebrating these ladies both 25 years of service. Nicole Chris was hired in 1993 as a caseworker 1 for children and youth. In June of 1996, she was promoted to caseworker 2. September of the same year, promoted to caseworker 3. September 2002, promoted to caseworker supervisor 1. And in September 2015, promoted to assistant administrator. Nicole, hand this to you. And I'll move right over to Jill. Jill also is celebrating 25 years of service. She was hired in 1993 as a certified nursing assistant. In 2000, transferred to children and youth as a receptionist. In December 2002, promoted to department clerk 2. January 2003, promoted to department clerk 3. December 2004, promoted to and transferred to court administration as administrative coordinator. September 2005, transferred back to children and youth as administrative coordinator. And August last year, promoted to children and youth administrative supervisor. Jill, here's your award.
Thank you.
I want to thank you both for your years of service and your service to the county. I'd like to say anything. Nikki, would you like to say?
So I'll just say that this is a good day because you're looking at my right and left hand. I really couldn't work without both of these ladies, so it is great. Nicole graduated from Chambersburg High School and then attended Shippensburg University. As been stated, she started her career at Children and Youth in 1993, and she, I will say, continues with the hire on extremely young, as young as we can. She's been a caseworker, our placement coordinator, and held many different supervisory jobs before she became my assistant administrator. In her career, she's been integral in writing many policies that continue to be what we use today. She's trained staff and supported and has been such a support to her supervisors that she works with. She's willing to step out of the box and take on new tasks to support and improve the agency. I've been lucky enough to work side by side with Nicole for my entire career. In fact, she was my mentor and trained me when I was an intern. She taught me how to stay organized and balance the work at Children and Youth. And without that mentorship, I wonder where I'd be today. So I want to thank you for your support and encouragement. Thank you. Jill graduated from Carlisle High School, which I was wrong, I thought it was Big Spring. She began her career with the county at the nursing home and then made the smartest decision by coming to Children and Youth. She quickly was promoted through our office and became my admin assistant. Nicole's my assistant administrator, Jill's my administrative assistant. As you can see, my left and right hand. I got to work with Jill when I was a caseworker and could see very early on that she was a strong worker, very organized and thorough in her work. And she has been promoted, as she's been promoted, I've been able to see her evolve into a supervisor and to take on more leadership roles with the agency. I think it's safe to say, like I said, she's my right hand, and she keeps me organized and is able to deal with anything I throw at her. And sometimes I do throw things to get her attention. She is truly the glue that holds our whole agency together, and it goes without saying she makes the best meatballs for our potluck. Thank you, guys. Thank
Obviously, I wasn't on. Squeeze from her throat. We'll just turn the lights off.
You want them off? Okay.
Yeah, live.
I turned it on.
Why
I
not?
thought you did.
It's better without it.
And if I get everybody to move over about 3 steps. So we get everybody in there. I would never do that. All right, give me a smile. And let me take. I'm going to take 2 more, just in case. All right, good, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to move on to agenda item number 6 at this time, and certificate of recognition will be presented to Nicole Davis from 911 Life Saving Event. Nicole and John, please come forward.
Thank you, Cole. Thank you. Bear with me. We are recognizing Nicole Keepus with a certificate of special recognition. The Cumberland County Board of Commissioners hereby recognizes Nicole for extraordinary efforts in providing emergency medical assistance during a 911 call on September 10th of this year, which resulted in saving the life of a newborn infant. Nicole reported that the 14-day-old infant was choking and not breathing. Nicole provided emergency medical dispatch instructions until EMS services arrived. It is with extreme appreciation that the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners recognizes and commends Nicole for her dedicated service to the citizens of Cumberland County, presented this 18th day of October from the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners. Nicole, we also want to present you with a I'm a Lifesaver pin. And thank you very much for your service. If you like for a picture.
Nicole's been with us just shy of 5 months, but she handled this call like a seasoned veteran. We're very fortunate to have her on staff. This is outstanding job.
Okay.
And if everybody can just kind of move in just on a little bit. That's all good. Smile. Smile. Great, thank you.
Okay, moving on to agenda item number 5, Commissioner DiFilippo, along with Kirk Stoner, who is joining us via video teleconferencing, will be discussing the county's 2018 Household Hazardous Waste Event history. Commissioner DiFilippo and Kirk?
Sure. Good morning, Commissioners. Hi, Kurt. As you're aware, every year the Recycling and Waste Department, we do a household hazardous waste event where we collect hazardous waste from our residents at no charge. We just did our event this past August. We're happy to report that we collected 61 tons of material, and we had over 1,000 cars come through the line that day. And Judd and I were there all day from 9 to 3. I can assure you the line was long at times, but our residents were very appreciative of the work that we were doing and the opportunity to provide the service to them. But as you're aware, that service comes at a cost. The cost of that event was over $100,000. So we're very fortunate to have sponsorships from the Department of Environmental Protection and the Department of Agriculture that significantly offset the costs of it. But we have some certificates of recognition today for other sponsors that stepped forward realizing the benefits of this event to the community. So we wanted to thank Advanced Disposal, Penn Waste, North Middleton Township, Newville Borough, and Lemoyne Borough for their generous sponsorships to the event, which really helped to offset the full cost to us. At the end of the day, the county's cost out of our recycling and waste fee was about $18,000. So you can see the leverage that we got from the other sources for an event that cost us over $100,000. And you look at the life of this program, as it states in the press release, for the past 20 years we've been doing this, we've collected over 913 tons of materials. So it's impressive to see that impact, that otherwise a lot of these materials would be ending up in our landfills or worse, and contributing to potential harm to our environment. So we're very proud of the program. We'd like to thank all of our sponsors for their support of the program.
Thanks, Kirk. Also, want to announce that we will have a press release going out for this today. And I also don't want to forget, we have a press release going out for recognizing Nicole Kepis for Save the Newborn. But I also want to point out that Samantha and our communications team put together this incredibly good flyer that really visually tells you how much hazardous material has been collected. To me, this is well done as well. So I want to offer our thanks and congratulations to all for making this a successful event.
Thank you. Commissioners, since we currently have Kirk on VTC, I would like to move down the agenda to contracts and grants, revenue to agenda items G and I, and have Kirk discuss the liquid fuels agreement, followed by agenda item I regarding discussion of the grant reimbursement for the 2018 household hazardous waste event for recycling and waste. Kirk?
Sure, Commissioners, the first agenda item is a contract addendum for Ferris Farhack Construction. We had them do a debris removal contract for us earlier this year. As you're aware, it was a very wet summer and wet fall. When I went out to inspect their work, I had found new debris that was about a 100-foot tree, about 5 foot in diameter. It was huge. It was stuck in one of our bridges, so we did a contract addendum for the company to go back out and remove that debris in addition. So the value of that is $9,876. Be paid for through our bridge program and our liquid fuels funds, where we do have funding able to pay for that.
Any questions for Kirk on that? Okay, Kirk, you can move on.
Okay,
to the next one.
Sure. Second piece of that, then we have our, as I mentioned earlier, reporting on our household hazardous waste event. We have our record of operations that the Board of Commissioners needs to sign off on. It's really listing the materials, the weights, and the disposal location for what we collected at the event. And then the second piece of that is the application for reimbursement for our eligible costs, and that's a 50% reimbursement from DEP for $40,250.
Any additional questions for Kirk on that issue? Thank you, Kirk.
Thanks, Kirk.
All right, thank you.
Next, I'd like to move on to agenda item 7 and call Kate Molinaro again to discuss any further details regarding 2018 CDBG and home program budget revision. Kate?
I don't have anything further. I would just ask that on Monday, the board approve the proposed modifications to the budget.
Nothing changed in the last 15 minutes.
No.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call on Dana Zest, who will be discussing the budget resolution 2018-24. Dana?
The workers' comp fund is requesting to increase expenses by $105,500, and that's to cover the estimated expenses for the remainder of the year.
Any questions for Dana? Thank you, Dana. Next, we move on to agenda item 9, contracts and grants. Agenda numeral 1, A through C are existing contracts. Contract extensions or addendums with no additional costs or increase to the county. They include the following departments: 3 aging and community service agreements, 2 agreements for children and youth, and 1 agreement for facilities management. Commissioners, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding any of the above-mentioned agreements? And hearing none, we move on to agenda item 9, Roman numeral 2, which consists of new contracts, vendor services, grants, and contracts with increases and decreases to the county. And begin by calling on Joan Kroll to discuss 3 agreements for aging and community services. And I don't see Joan.
I'm here.
Oh, Joan. Sorry, you're on BTC. Hi.
I don't like that thing. I'm coming home from now on.
Okay.
Don't like that. I just had one, right? It's just the one?
Yes.
Okay. It's for the Central PA Food Bank. This was for the 2017-2018 contract. It was just an increased allocation, an increase of $4,395.27.
Any questions for Jen? Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
And Thanks for coming.
I like the face-to-face much better.
Next, I'd like to call on Earl, who's here today to discuss the agreement with the Carlisle Area Religious Council agreement for the nursing home and the prison.
Commissioners, this is our annual agreement with the Carlisle Area Religious Council for their provision of chaplain services at both the prison and CRNC. The yearly total for that is $128,670.85, and that is an increase of $2,971.27 from last year.
Any questions?
That's 40 hours of chaplain services at the jail, 29 hours a week at the nursing home.
Any additional questions?
No, I just want to thank you, Earl, for working to get a lot of problems out, so we get it all resolved.
That was an interesting venture.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Earl.
Thanks, John.
I move on to agenda item C and call Melissa Smith, who is definitely joining us via video teleconferencing to discuss the two agreements for CNRC. Melissa?
Good morning. I have Bob in here with me as well, just for full disclosure. The first one is the Cerner contract. You may recall that we are finishing the care tracker with Cerner on February 1st, 2019, at which point we need to have a way to retain access to that information that's stored on Cerner. The only way to do that is through this contract for about $3,200 annually. And that's what this contract is. It will not take effect until February 1st, 2019.
Any questions on that?
Any questions on Cerner?
The cost is how much?
$31.75.
Did you say 3 years?
And it's an annual.
Okay. So if for some reason the situation changes, we would be able to extract that data rather than rely on it.
We cannot. That's the problem. They're
They're
telling us that it's for.
Change at all, perhaps? There's no prospect that that would change.
I'm sorry.
There's no prospect that that would change at any time, year over year, that we would just wait out the contract.
We have to have access to the information for probably the next 10 years. They told me that to give us reports was proprietary information, and they refused to do that in any way, shape, or form. So we're kind of held to this, unfortunately.
Nothing's changed, so, but we're on an annual basis, so if something would potentially change, we would just wait out the year, not renew.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Thank you.
We are saving money. We currently, we're paying Cerner $30,753 annually, but we're going to the point of care service, if you remember all this, through Keene, which is significantly less. So it's a big cost savings for us overall. But unfortunately, we're at their mercy.
The new contract total you're stating doesn't match what's on our form here, so we can get that corrected by Monday.
The contract is right. I'm probably giving you a wrong number here. It was a form that I pulled off. I apologize.
Let's confirm that for Monday.
Yes.
Can you just confirm that, Melissa, for Monday?
I will absolutely do that.
Thank you.
Just send you an email.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Oh, Andy. The other contract is Milestone. Milestone's a nursing temp agency. They have been more willing than others to send CNAs and RNs as we need them. So we had used them on an emergency basis. We'd like to contract with them, and that's what this Milestone is.
Any questions, Commissioners, on that?
Yeah, Melissa, I'm looking at what it talks about the new contract total. It's an interesting number. But we use them as needed, so that means what? That we might not necessarily, incur the cost of $99,999. right?
Absolutely. It was, to be honest with you, it's a Lawson contractual line item, and I don't see us using that much, but it was, instead of putting 10,000 and then next week we had a big need, then I'd have to go back in and do another 10 or whatever. If you want me to refine that, yeah.
Yeah, how did we arrive at the number that's listed here, do you know?
It was, I'll be honest with you, it's an arbitrary number to go to put it into the contract, the Lawson system. We've done that in the past, but if you want me to true that up, I would be happy to.
The question I would have, the only question I would have, Melissa, is how does this compare with the cost for, a CNA temporary employee previously? Is it an increase or a reduction or about the same as what we were paying?
The cost per hour for the CNAs and the RNs is about in line. Milestone's a little bit higher, by maybe $1 an hour. I can confirm that too.
Yeah, but if you.
Do you want to?
I'd like to get an idea as to how much we're paying per CNA under this contract.
Under this contract? Under this contract, the CNA, I'm sorry, you broke up.
No, go ahead.
Okay, a CNA during a weekday is $28 an hour. On a weekend, they're $29 an hour. On a holiday, it's $31.50 an hour. That's a CNA.
We probably do a comparison if you want to.
Yeah, I can certainly do a comparison for you. The different agencies we use. Would you like to see that?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you compare this to what we're paying our CNAs, it's a lot more, right?
They are all a lot more, yes, sir.
It is more, but this also includes their benefit load.
Right.
So we're paying for the full amount. So it is still more than we pay for our normal CNA, but it's not as much as it sounds because of the benefit differential.
Well, I'd like to see that differential. Okay.
Yes, I can do that for
I
you.
mean, it might tell us something with respect to what our compensation is for our full-time CNAs compared to what we have to spend when we can't get CNAs or for temporary employees.
Any other questions? Okay, Melissa, thank you very much, and you can send that to me before Monday, okay?
Absolutely, thank you.
Thanks, Melissa.
Bye.
Okay, we're moving on to agenda item D, and we'll be calling on Skip Ebert, who's joining us to discuss the grant for the DUI enforcement program. Skip?
This is the standard sobriety checkpoint and underage drinking enforcement program grant. We've gotten these time immemorial from PennDOT. They've expanded it to cover 2 years, so it's 2018, 2019, and 2019, 2020. Basically, the grant pays for our phlebotomists from our lab to go to each checkpoint and draw blood right on the scene of any suspect supported by probable cause. The PennDOT grant also covers the cost of the testing in our laboratory, so we're reimbursed for that. But realistically, the majority of the money goes to pay for the overtime for the officers who volunteer. We do 4 DUI checkpoints a year. They last 5 hours each and involve 20 officers. And then additionally to that, there are 24 roving patrols. That's 12 per year. Those are 5 hours each, and that's just one car with the officers in it, just routinely doing nothing but DUI enforcement. I don't know if you have any questions. It's pretty standard.
Skip the checkpoints. I assume they're different every year.
Different places. That has to be supported by traffic data of accidents at certain locations. You also take into account the safety factor of being able to have an adequate pull-off area. It goes so far. hate to say it, but this grant also pays for the public restrooms that we transport there to be on site at that time. So it's pretty inclusive. I can't say that we haven't gone back to the same point over a number of years because those places still, there are a lot of accidents there, but that has to be justified and put in the application when we pick a place. So.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call on Jack Carroll to discuss the drug and alcohol agreement. Jack?
Good morning, Commissioners. This is our agreement with the Valley Forge Medical Center and Hospital. We're one of only 2 hospital-based substance abuse detox and rehab providers, although the contract also includes some non-hospital services for detox and rehab as well. They're located in Norristown. We only have 2 contracts because there's not many hospital-based drug and alcohol treatment facilities in the state. We don't use them very often, but when we need to use them, the need is quite critical. And the reason they're in this section is this is one of the rare instances where some of their rates have actually decreased from last year. There's been a slight decrease in their per diem rate for non-hospital detox and rehab from $315 a day to $310 a day. Questions?
Any questions for Jack? Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Agenda item H, we'll call on Linda McCullough to discuss the 2 agreements for MHID. Linda?
Okay. You didn't want to do drunk first?
Did I miss Brett?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
I'll be a lady about it, not go first.
Okay, Brett, you're here to discuss the Able Fence agreement.
Good morning. This is a 3-year service contract with Cable Fence. It's to provide maintenance services to the gate controllers at the public safety and the prison. It's a total of 3 years for $12,000. We currently have 2 contracts in place, both of which expire at the end of this year. We're able to merge those 2 contracts into one now. The current yearly cost is $4,070, so we're actually saving $210 over the 3-year term.
Any questions for Brett? Thank you, Brett. Okay, Linda, now it's your turn.
The 2 contracts, one is an addendum on our international corporate training and marketing. We're seeing an increase in language interpretation services needed for our early intervention families. So this is an increase of $14,006. They've almost maxed out their contract in the first 3 months so far. The second is Western PA School for the Deaf. We had contracted with them previously. They weren't going to contract with the county anymore, but now they've had a family that has requested them, and they said they would serve our individuals again, and it's for special instruction hearing.
Are there any questions for Linda? Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on to agenda item J, and I will be calling on Claudia Gardner, who's joining us video teleconferencing to discuss the EMP grant. Commissioners, please note that this is an action requested item. Claudia?
Good morning. We have our annual emergency management performance grant that we apply for. We requested your approval to make application on December 18, 2017, and PEMA has made their allocations, and Cumberland County has been awarded $108,451. That's for the performance period of October 1st, 2017 through September 30th, 2018. It's a reimbursable grant that is used to supplement, actually provide for half the salary and benefits of 2 of our positions here for the EOC. It's just your normal grant that we get each year, and we're happy to accept, and we are asking for your action requested today because PEMA had a short turnaround time and their deadline is to have it back to them by tomorrow.
So you're looking for a motion to accept the grant? Claudia?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Is there, I see there's some sort of county match, is that true, and if so, how much?
It's a 50%, so the county has to supply 50% of the salary and benefits for the 2 positions that are identified, and they reimburse 50%.
Well, if it's in order, I'll make a motion to accept the emergency management performance grant in the amount of $108,451.
We have a motion, is there a second? Second. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to agenda item 10, and call on Jennifer Hipp, who will be discussing the Tax Claim Bureau repository sale consent. Jen?
So request for the commissioners to consent to the sale of a property. It's a manufactured home for a bid price of $10. The home was subject to both statutory upset and judicial sales, but no bids were received. This is a standard type of request and procedure, and there's nothing out of the ordinary with this matter.
Any questions for Jen? Thank you, Jen. Next, move on to agenda item 11, and call Commissioner Hertzler, who will review 2 reappointment recommendations for Ag Land Preservation Board. Commissioner Hertzler?
Sure. I'm going to cover this in the liaison report, but the terms of 2 of our members of the Agricultural Land Preservation Board are about to expire, and the Agricultural Land Preservation Board has recommended the reappointment of Boyd Weary and Gary Martin to new terms beginning in January. So I guess on Monday I'd like to take the motion to have these folks reappointed.
Thank you, Commissioner Hertzler.
They have all served very diligently and are regular attendees at our Agricultural Land Preservation Board.
Thank you. Agenda item 12, I would like to present to you, there was a letter of recommendation made by the Commission for Women recommending Molly Moore for a 3-year term that would be effective October 23rd, 2018 and expiring on October 22nd, 2021. Commissioners, you should have received her member information sheet for review. Do you have any questions regarding anything? Okay, so I would like to respectfully ask for approval on Monday with that appointment. So we'll move on to agenda item 13 and begin with Commission liaison reports, and begin with Commissioner DeFilippo.
Thanks, Sandy. I'll start with the Emergency Services Action Panel meeting, which was held October 10th. Just some updates. One of the biggest things we discussed was with EMS Council, the Blaine Waivers. They're seeing a decrease in the opioid issues. They were comparing 2018 to 2016 numbers, and so far we are seeing a 40% decrease in such calls. There was one incident where the Special Police Emergency Response Team had to respond to. There were some updates given on the P25 radio project, and the current chairman, Chuck Murphy, announced that he will be resigning in early 2019 as chairman, so the group will be looking for a new chairman to run that channel.
Said that 2 years ago.
And next, the Western Cumberland County Council of Governments met earlier this week. Some of the items of interest: Lower Frankfort Township. There was mention of safety issues with Sunoco Pipeline, and they also mentioned appreciation of the county commissioners for trying to do what we can to ensure public safety is adhered to. Mount Holly Springs Borough, they're having a Halloween parade October 24th. North Newton Township indicated that their first budget meeting will be this coming Friday. In Newville Borough, Mike Fry mentioned that the borough has hired 2 police officers, 1 full-time, 1 part-time. They also have a Halloween parade scheduled for October 29th. In Penn Township, Gary Martin reported that the township has reestablished its Park and Recreation Committee. They have 4 members now, looking for a 5th. And they also mentioned that they had received $15,300 in grant money from Cumberland County to use for rewriting of some other ordinances. In Southampton Township, apparently there was some issue with advanced disposal. They had missed some pickups for trash, roadways, etc. That issue's been addressed and all seems okay. And that's it for the Western Council of Governments. This isn't a liaison report, but I just want to announce on behalf of the board, I attended the latest Cumberland, New York area local defense group meeting, which was also October 10th. A couple of the items that were discussed was the recent I-81 study for exit 48 and 49. That study apparently has been submitted to HATS and seeking funding sources. The projected cost of improvement of those areas will be about $3 million. PennDOT's indicated it could be years before this is done. They mentioned that the widening of I-81 would have to be done first, yet there is certainly disagreement as to why that would have to occur. Suggested that we get our federal legislators involved with this to see if at least the restructuring of those 2 exits could be done. As was mentioned today at the Hampton Township meeting, the joint use study, Hampton Township, was done in 2016. There will be comments due back by this Friday, the 19th. There's some additional information I picked up at the meeting. This may be common knowledge, but there are 4,300 employees that are employed at the Hampton Naval Base, Naval Station, Naval Supply Station. This creates about $467 million of annual payroll. We have 27,000 defense employees in the state, which 90% are civilians. Another constant theme we kept hearing over and over is we need to maintain our skilled labor supply. And that would be a good thing to have to avoid any potential frack that would be in the works. It was also mentioned that within 12 hours of Carlisle, we could touch 50% of the U.S. population. I also want to thank Laura Pohoff of CADIC for organizing and running the meeting. She did, as always, a good job. There were state representatives represented, not in person, but Senator Regan's staff was there, Rep. Delozier and Rep. Hoffman were there as well. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Commissioner Depot. Commissioner Hartsburg?
Before we do that, just one point. On, you mentioned about Chuck Murphy, and all joking aside, Chuck's been the chairman of that since we formed that ESAP.
I think he mentioned
in
that
2004. We really should do something nice for him.
Yeah.
I think he had announced retirement one other time, truly, and agreed to stay on.
Okay.
So he's been really pivotal toward making sure that group takes off, and they've done some really good work. So definitely want to see us. And in 2004, that's Jane, you were in 3rd grade then or something?
Kindergarten.
Yeah, kindergarten. It's a long time. We do it. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Hartsburg?
Yes, let me just start off by commenting on what appears to be a little bit of misunderstanding. I'm not sure where the rumor came from that we're going to 3 lanes widening, before anything else gets done. Where it stands right now, my understanding, being our liaison to HATS, is that there's a new effort underway, supported by all 3 NPOs, Franklin County, Lebanon County, and HATS, Harrisburg Transportation Study, to take the information we know that widening, is out of reach in terms of the cost now of being instead of 1.5 billion in 2005 to as much as $2.9 billion today. So all three MPOs are supporting the development of a master plan that tries to identify priorities for improvement. And that could include the interchange. It might also include things like getting rid of the Miracle Mile and having a direct connection between the Turnpike and Interstate 81. It could also deal with widening in the Carlisle area, which is one of the biggest problems we have in terms of accidents and congestion, improving intersection. So they're going to look at the whole thing to try to come up with, I guess, what we can afford, or at least we have the ability to maybe move forward on. And of course, Vince is right, absolutely. We need to get a federal government and our federal legislators on this job as soon as this election is over. So hopefully we can get something done in the next year across party lines in both Washington and Harrisburg. So anyway, although they lacked a quorum to take action, I've scheduled a special follow-up meeting for the purposes of further discussion and taking action. The county's Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board met on October 9. There was discussion on the transfer of $5,000 of unused 2018 housing counseling funding to assist the county and our planning department in working with Shippensburg University on the development of a housing affordability analysis. There was preliminary discussion on a 2019 Affordable Housing Trust Fund budget that should be submitted to us in the near future for approval. The budget is expected to be a little bit lower than this year's $205,000. I believe it's proposed to be $190,000, and that's primarily because of reduced revenues, apparently the result of fewer property transfers or new mortgages this year. In addition, for the first time in my memory, being commissioner now for 7 years, the lack, and being a liaison to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board, the lack of sufficient housing inventory in our county is highlighted recently at the annual Realtors Breakfast that Vince and I attended, has resulted in a number of successful applicants for first-time home buyers, down payment and closing cost assistance, not being able to take advantage of the available assistance because they can't find a home in their price range to make an offer on. We're talking about 16 families that have been approved for closing and down payment assistance, but 16 families that have not been able yet to settle on a property in Cumberland County. And I know we've talked about this, and I think it is going to be important that we begin to focus and bring all the different entities together that deal with the issue of housing. It's a challenge, I think, that we face, but continue to face in our county going forward as well. The county's Agricultural Land Preservation Board met on the morning of October 10th. The board approved some minor changes to the farm ranking system, minor tweaks which have been forwarded to the State Farmland Preservation Board for approval. In addition, although this will be explored further by the board and it will take some time to implement if they decide to move forward and approve it, the board is looking at changes in the ranking system that would grant additional points to a farm that is willing to take a bargain sale or reduced price for the conservation easement. The board is reviewing how Lancaster County provides for tiered pricing for farms that are willing to take a reduced amount for the conservation easement and the ranking points that go with that. Meanwhile, you heard the recommendation relative to reappointment of current board members. The Agricultural Land Preservation Board is also one of the nominating bodies for the county's Conservation District Board. And as a result, the Conservation District has recommended the reappointment of Farmer Director Dennis Garman to the Conservation District Board. I'm not quite sure how that works, but we should try to see, make sure that we get that on the agenda for Mr. Garman's reappointment. And then also, I want to mention relative to the reappointment of agricultural land preservation board members. This is just a technicality, and Vince may remember this, but I believe it's actually under law, the recommendation of the chairman of the board of commissioners to make those reappointments. But I think how we've handled it in the past is we've made a motion to recommend Vince's appointment or reappointment of the individuals. So we just need to word that properly. Do you remember that, Vince?
Yeah, I think we decided to make all commissioners have a vote.
Okay, so that's fine. We can, but I think technically it's something that the chairman of the board under the law is required to do or obligated to do, and I think we decided that.
I think the full board should decide.
Yeah,
not just
and that's
the chair.
what
That's what the law says. I think the law's flawed.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Okay, and
You're right. You're absolutely right.
finally, the board, for my colleagues' information,
Yes.
you is planning a farmland preservation workshop for November 1 at 7 p.m. At the Allen Road Building Conference Room. The workshop is expected to cover details of our farmland preservation program for interested farmers, as well as provide information on the Silver Spring Township preservation effort, how that's working, and also what the Lancaster Farmland Trust is doing in our county to help with our preservation efforts here. And as I understand, it's open to the public, and all of our municipalities have been invited to attend. And I'm sure as a board or any of my colleagues might want to attend as well. So again, that's November 1, 7 p.m. at the Allen Road Building. Okay. The Capital Region Council of Governments met Monday evening. We heard a presentation from State Representative Frank Ryan of Lebanon County. And he discussed a number of the things that were going on or not going on in the General Assembly before the end of its session, which I think is done, it's over with. And also about the challenges of trying to achieve property tax elimination. So we discussed that. And then we also heard from Steve Deck, Executive Director of the Tri-County Regional Planning Commission. And he outlined again about how Tri-County Regional Planning Commission and HATS are taking comments now on transportation improvements for the 40-year plan, the regional transportation plan, and that we've submitted as a board a suggestion relative to Interstate 81. But if anybody out there, any of our municipal officials want to submit comments on traffic and transportation needs, you just have to go to HATS Regional Transportation Plan.org, I believe, and you can submit your comments and suggestions there. While there was no Public Safety Committee report, COG is moving forward with scheduling a meeting from its Public Safety Committee with local municipal officials to provide training on the duties and responsibilities of local government to provide for fire and EMS protection. And the COG adopted a resolution taking a stance in opposition to legislation that I presume is now dead for this session, but that was pending in the General Assembly that would strip municipalities of all of their zoning authority over wireless poles and antennas in public rights of way, and slash fees that municipalities may assess wireless companies when they use public rights of way for their poles, antennas, and equipment. And one other thing, this is not necessarily my liaison report, but I was happy to see the legislature apparently did pass some legislation that we've been interested in that will now require, according to I haven't looked at the bill, but according to an analysis, will require online travel companies such as Expedia, Orbitz, and Travelocity to remit state and county hotel tax on their retail rate of the room, as in-state hotels have been doing all along. So the legislature hopefully has closed the loophole that has prevented such entities like Airbnb and others to not collect and remit the county hotel tax. So we'll see how this works, and again, we need to analyze the legislation that just passed a little bit better, but I think that was positive. We took a lead on bringing this issue to the attention of the County Commissioners Association, so hopefully it's a fix that'll work. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Eichelberg.
Yeah, just picking up on that issue, I got I don't know if everybody got it or not, I got an email from Shereen.
Yeah.
Is that what you referred to?
That's okay.
I think she maybe gave me a little bit more analysis on the legislation too, so I'll make sure that I share anything I have. I just saw that this morning, it would really good to look at because of our morning event. So on that, everything else I have is you're somewhat familiar with, so I don't need to spend a lot of time on the. Of course, we got the update from Judd and company on this. This is beautiful, by the way. Did you do this, Serena?
Chris
Chris
did.
Sears did this.
Yeah,
Really nice. Great piece that really shows the value of what we've been offering in terms of household hazardous waste. So Judd sent me a little bit more detailed information on some of that. I'll be happy to pass some of that along if anyone wants it. He did mention to me as well that he and Kirk have already had some discussion on maybe some changes they can make to that event to make it more useful in the future. And they're going to be checking in with you soon, Sandy, about scheduling a time with us when they can present some ideas and have some discussion on that. So we'll hear more about that.
I like the comparison, Gary, to the 913 tons that's been collected since over the past 20 years.
Yes.
To 4.5 times the weight of a 747 passenger plane weighing 300 pounds. So that's a good way to kind of like get people to, when you talk about tonnage, you may not think about it, but when you think 4.5 747 passenger jets.
It's unloaded too. We wanted to make people understand how much we were collecting and how much people were cleaning out their garages and stuff. And we wanted to create a visual so people would understand that. And I think that did.
Did. Excellent.
Good. No, it's fun. I really like the graphic. I mentioned they're going to be coming in to talk to us about maybe some changes to the program that might make it even more successful. I have a bunch of articles that came to the board members. I don't think you guys got them from Joe as well. Changes to the recycling marketplace right now. So I'll be happy to pass those along. Just that you wish or not. Let's see. There was a planning commission meeting this morning. I did not attend since I was in attendance with you fellows at the Hampton Township Business Breakfast event, which I thought was great. All three of us were there, and it's always a super event. Our single biggest municipalities, they truly appreciate us being there. So, but I did check in with Kirk to see if there was any pressing business. He did not anticipate anything. I'll check in with him again if there's anything there that I can pass on. I will do that. Just a reminder, any day we should be getting the names for the appointments to the vacancies on the planning commission that are upcoming, one current, two upcoming. So we'll have more on that soon. The MHIDD meeting is today. It's in Perry County. I'm going to try to get there. Did a couple of competing things for that, so I'm checking with them. The rest of the items are CADIC related, and just real quick, we had our executive committee meeting last week, predominantly discussing the CEO search, and that was addressed at the board meeting the other day. It Vince could not attend that because of the conflict. Jim, you were there, so I don't need to spend much time on it, but they've initiated the contract for the search firm to complete the CEO search. That's getting taking a significant amount of effort on the part of the executive committee and the search committee. They did announce the hiring of the real estate specialist for the REC, real estate collaborative within KDIG, so that hiring process is done. Everybody's very enthusiastic about the candidate that's hired there. So hopefully we will miss a beat, at least maybe not more than 1 or 2 beats, in keeping that function rolling. And also, Sheree just sent me a thing today that they have acceptance for the individual who's now taking the destination sales manager position we came vacant about a month ago. So we have some key staffing positions taken care of there. In a similar vein on Katie, I was privileged I missed the last finance meeting specifically because I was at this workforce development luncheon that Katie sponsored, and I still think I got the better end of the deal. It was a really terrific event. We had, I think, 112 area employers in attendance, along with virtually all of our area institutions of higher learning, and with one exception, and we're going to follow up with them. It's a great opportunity to raise the awareness level on not only workforce development needs, but share information on what is available, what's planned, that Katie's involved in with the effort that we've agreed to fund over the last few years. And there was a lot of excitement at the end of the organization, at the end of the event. A lot of networking going on, a lot of discussion, a lot of enthusiasm. Each of the educational institutions made mini presentations on what they offer that can be useful, and we kind of tied it all together at the end with some information regarding Katie. Just a super event, and I think I was pleased to have the opportunity to be there to represent the board. I think we put our money there, but it's important to be demonstrating public presence and public advocacy for what they're doing. It's really important to our local economy going forward, and maybe underappreciated in a lot of corners, but the folks who were in that room certainly appreciate it and appreciate the need for it. And I think we're really moving the ball forward by engaging a lot of the key players in this issue, and it's going to have resounding impact for a long time. So I was very happy to be part of that. And of course, the next day we had the Alliance event for elected officials as well. And Vince, you were there. Jim, were you there? No, you were not able. But that was a terrific event. Very well attended. Just a lot of creative and positive energy surrounding issues regarding to our economic futures of county. And just want to commend the folks in Katy for really, ramping up that energy level and keeping people engaged on that, even as we go through this CEO transition. Sometimes it's tough to sustain those things, and staff over there really deserves kudos for really keeping things moving forward there. So everybody, so I just wanted to share that with you. I think everything else we have dealt with, so that's all I really have, unless there's some questions.
I just got one quick comment, and I think we've talked about this before, but relative to workforce development, education, training, and so forth. I think, there was, and at least it still remains my belief, that our educational system should have been dealing with the changes in the economy and the need for skills training and so forth for the jobs that are available. And the whole question of to succeed today, you don't necessarily need, not to say you shouldn't, but you don't necessarily need a 4-year liberal arts degree, but you do need additional skills to get a good job. There's a huge demand for good paying, family sustaining jobs. And anyway, I just want to say that I think what Katie is doing is, in our county, is pulling these different groups together now. I mean, there's a synergy that's going on. I think that's what Gary's getting at, with the 100 or so employers who, attended this most recent meeting. And So these are the things that, you know, I mean, I think it's serving as a, if you will, a catalyst to try to provide for the kind of cooperative effort that we need to deal with that issue. And I'm hoping that, you know, one of the other challenges we have, in addition to the need for employees, is, you know, this whole issue relative to housing. So I'm hoping that those are things that maybe we can, you know, play a role in helping to lead on in the year ahead and years to come. So, thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. I would like to report that executive sessions were held on the following dates for 2018. October 10th at 11 a.m., October 15th at 11 a.m., and October 16th at 1:30 p.m., all regarding personnel issues. I would also like to request an executive session be held directly after this meeting regarding personnel